Here's the main interview section for the interview between Kai and Shegun. Go.
So, if you can tell me what inspired you to write Black Egyptians?
So basically, I've been in Nuwaubian for 8 years now, and
Do you
I
want to
found.
explain what that is?
So basically, Nuwapu is the science of sound right reasoning. What that is it's a culture based on Egypt, and it's a culture based on fact. So one, it's for black people generally. So one is that most religions per se is based on belief. You believe in God, you believe in Allah, you believe in the devil, you believe in heaven and hell. You can't necessarily prove it. Okay, that's belief. You can believe something, you can factually prove something. The Egyptians, with all their knowledge, the ancient ones, not just Egypt, ancient ones worldwide, had a system of facts because they knew and did certain things. So Nuwaubu is a culture based on factual living, and two, based on your ancestors. So as black people, we should be, if we do worship anything, we should be worshipping our ancestors, things related to us as black people. Put it this way, your mother is someone who birthed you, clothed you, fed you, so why would you want to worship another race, or the image of another race, i.e. white Jesus or Arab Muhammad? So that's what Nuwaubian is, to cut a long story short.
But then if the ancient, if they were worshipping something that was so long ago, how can they link it to themselves? How do they know it's relevant to them?
By blood. If they're your ancestors, think of it this way. You have a great grandmother. Most people might not have met your great grandmother or great grandfather, but you got a link through them, through your grandparents and your parents. You don't necessarily have to have seen them, but you got pictures of them, so you can link through them by blood. And because they're your relatives, they can help you. As we speak, I went to a show in SOAS University the other day by Darlene Adolfo called Ancestral Voices, and this was about Africans practicing ancestral cultures and ancestral practices and the consequences of not practicing it and what it does for the black community.
Okay, but just taking it back to Egypt, so do you believe that Egyptians were your ancestors?
Yeah, I proved that through the book. Chapter 4 is a whole chapter on Nigeria. I didn't mean to, but through my writing I figured that there was a hell of a lot of evidence that Nigerians, especially West Africans, including Ghanaians.
Is that all of us? I mean, that's quite general.
No, I will go into it. You got Ghana, you got Nigeria, you got Chad, you got Benin and Angola. We're talking about basically Yoruba land. Okay, Yoruba land was those continents plus more. Then you've got different parts of Africa, South Africa, Ethiopia, Angola even. Those countries particularly can claim genetic links to Egypt. And I've got 2 chapters at the end. We're looking into physical anthropology, blood types, DNA, all that kind of stuff.
But then even within these countries there are different tribes, so not every tribe would have... What, can every tribe claim that they have some...
There's certain tribes like Yoruba and Igbo, for example, in Nigeria, they have a lot of body of evidence, okay? We're talking about 250 tribes in Nigeria. I don't know how many there are in Ghana, but in Nigeria there's 250 tribes. That's a lot of tribes. But in the book, I can prove that every black person can claim ancestry to Egypt.
But then why would they want to claim ancestry to Egypt when they've got their own ancestry in the land that they were born and the land that their grandparents were born? Because I'm sure that this ancestry to Egypt is a long, long time ago, even before great-grandfathers or whatever.
That's a very good question, and I'll answer that quite simply. If you want gold, you want it in its purest form. You don't want 9 karat gold. You want 24 karat gold. Okay, 24 karat gold, to explain the analogy, is you can't bend it properly, you can't wear it, so you mix it with silver and alloys to make 22 karat, and you can wear 22 karat. So Nigeria, Ghana only go back to a certain point in time. Life in general in Africa wasn't created in Nigeria. So before Nigeria, before Yoruba, before Ashanti, before Fanti, before all these so-called tribes that we call ourselves, what were we? Chiefs in Nigeria say we came from North Africa. We migrated from the area of Nubia and Egypt. So yes, you can claim Nigerian ancestry, and I've got Yoruba. I love being Yoruba. I've got Nigeria. I love that. Okay, but I'm about the root. If you have an illness, you need to claim that illness from the cell, not just take little prescriptions that stop the symptoms. You're talking about going back to the purest form. That's what it's about.
Yes, but I'm sure the purest form now, when we see Egypt, is full of Arab people. So how do we then, therefore, how do we find, that's what I'm saying, how do we now find the purest form when somebody else has even come and stepped over that now?
That's all in the book. There's literally chapters. Sudan is a whole chapter, Nigeria is a whole chapter. You've got other countries like Mali, South Africa, Ethiopia, then you've got genetics, okay? But I can prove that all black people can claim it, and the special link going beyond the topic is by extraterrestrial visitors that came to Egypt at around 10,000 BC. Every black person can claim ancestry through them in some way, shape or form. So you don't have to necessarily go through Nigeria or Ghana. Caribbean people, for example, you don't have to necessarily, even if you can, if you're a Caribbean person, Jamaican, Barbados or whatever, you can do a genetic test and claim you're from Nigeria or Ghana, but you can claim linkage to Egypt by way of the Neteru. Neteru means guardians for a group of people that came to Egypt and taught them the advanced civilization.
So all the things that you're telling me, I have seen no proof, and you might have some proof in the book, but this was so long ago, and obviously there's some things that some people will believe and there's some things that other people won't believe. So how is this different from, let's say, someone coming along with Christianity and saying there was a man called Jesus and he's the saviour?
Well, you have proof. Don't say you don't, because
you have proof of Jesus as well.
No, you don't.
There is proof that that Jesus was born.
Okay.
That is proof.
The only proof of Jesus in the Bible, and I've looked at this, is in the Bible. Historians were around at that time.
Even in Muhammad in the Quran, they mention Jesus. So I don't think that there's any denial that Jesus was a man. Whether or not he's the Son of God, I'm not even asking about that. But there is proof that Jesus was born and he was crucified.
What Egypt sets us apart is that we find their bodies. Okay? Now, okay, you're right. Jesus mentioned in the Quran, I'll give you that, and the Bible. Why Egypt is so great? Because we got mummies. Okay, we got mummies, Ramesses, Tutankhamun, all these pharaohs that existed, we got them. And what makes Egypt so great as well, because we got a mummy of Osiris, an living Egyptian god, the god of vegetation and death. His body is supposedly claimed to have found. They wouldn't release it to us because they don't want to, they have their own agenda, but this is the body of a literal god that's been found. No other religion can claim that.
So then why are you so interested in something that was in someone else's, in a land that's not yours anymore, basically? Because I'm sure that, people in general, everyone came from Africa anyway, so everyone migrated into different places. So that means that a European can come and claim back his ancestral home in Africa, because that's where he basically, his DNA can take him back there. So why is this not different from even, let's say, the Aborigines in Australia? They're not claiming therefore Africa as their ancestral home. We've all kind of moved on and we all got our land. So what is so special about Egypt that you must need to claim?
Okay. Good question as well. I wrote this book to prove that Egyptians were black. That's the whole point, to prove that the ancient Egyptians, the original Egyptians, before the wars, migrations, and everything, they were black. So black people can subscribe or pertain to that particular knowledge. Why is that so important? Black people cannot agree on much. I'm sure you know that yourself. Black people are what? Christians, and all the different sects of Christianity. Black people are Muslims, and all the different sects of Muslims. Hebrews and Rastafari, Nuwapians like me, all sorts. We cannot actually agree on something. Then you've got tribes. There's intertribal warfare in Africa, as you know of. Some extreme cases like the Hutu and the Tutsi in Rwanda, or in some cases like Nigeria between the Biafra War. But in all the different cases in Africa, in my research that I've proven in chapter 9 and 10, Africans are the most diverse physically and genetically. We're the most diverse, okay? And to add to that, we've got the diversion of religion. So how are we going to build anything? How are we going to talk about unity if we cannot even ascribe to the same belief? That is the point.
Can I then argue on that? I don't actually see that there is a problem that I'm a proud Ga and you're a proud, what tribe are you?
Yoruba.
Yoruba. What's wrong with that? Why should we be the same?
Okay.
what I will agree on is that we're Africans and we're West Africans, and that we'll have similar, cultures. But I'm also proud of being what I am. I don't want to have to be the same as somebody else, because that's what also makes us unique. What we should rather learn to do is agree to disagree. If there's something we don't believe in, instead of fighting each other, we can say, well, this is how you do things, but I do my things this way, and then we agree on it. But why should we all be the same?
That's a second question as well. Now, this is the thing. Just going back to the Bible now for a minute, okay? We've got Genesis 11:6, where it says that, from what I can remember, all the people on the planet Earth spoke one language, and there was nothing they couldn't do. There was nothing they imagined that they could not actually physically do. They were building a Tower of Babel. What does the word Babel mean? Doorway to El. When they were building Tower of Babel, what happened? This so-called God that everyone loves and praises came down and stopped them from building it. And what did he do? He confounded their language, which means to confuse, so that people couldn't speak the same language anymore. Okay? So if in that quote we see everyone on earth spoke one language and there was nothing they can do, there was unity, there was no Yoruba, nothing, they were just all one. Okay? That means they had a certain amount of power. That power will never be reached. Don't forget, they used our tribal differences against us during slavery, because we didn't even speak the same language, we couldn't even communicate. Okay? If Africans want to go back to a pristine state of superiority, because let's face it, in life you're either superior or inferior. Let's face it. If Africans want to go back to that state, we are going to have to cut all that tribal nonsense, all that religious nonsense, and do one thing. That's just my opinion. That's just
wow,
my opinion. Let me finish.
Okay.
But like I said, they could do anything. Now, like I said, if you want to go back to that level, we're gonna have to make sacrifices.
Okay, I completely disagree with that completely, because you're talking about going back to great-grandfather. My great-grandmother worked hard. My great-grandfather, they've worked hard. They've instilled the culture inside us. Why should we all be the same? Why should I be the same as the Fanti man? We're all Ghanaian, yes, but then they got their way of doing things that has been brought down from generations. Why should I lose all that because I want to go back to being the same as everyone? At the end of the day, I think that if the God up there wanted us all to be the same, he would not have made me a different colour from this person or that person, or my hair different from that person, or my eyes different from the other person. We are all unique and we're all different, and I think that should be praised. We should rather be encouraging each other to embrace our differences, because that's what makes the world interesting. If the whole of Africa was even the same, how boring would that be? It's because we're so diverse. We love using this word. Then why are we suppressing it and saying that we should all be the same? We are a diverse continent. We're diverse people, even within our country and within our cultures. We're diverse. So what's wrong with that?
That diversion has led to our downfall.
No, there's diversion and there's diverse. I think it's no. How is that? But how is that? How is being diverse a bad thing? The diversion, if you take another route and you embrace somebody else's culture.
Let me explain it. Now, when I talk about unity, I'm talking about unity for Africa. Now, I'm not a racist. I have nothing against other people and cultures and colours. Okay, but I'm talking about unity for African people. I feel as an African man, I can't tell a European or Arab man what to do, believe. I can't do that, because who am I? Just as someone else shouldn't be able to tell us what to do, but they did. They told us to become Christian. They told us to become Muslim. You understand? So now, this diversion, like I said, if you read your Bible, and I'm sure you cannot argue on that fact that we need that. And let me put it to you one thing. If you talk about greatness, one of the greatest things about Egypt is the pyramids of Giza. It's one thing everyone can say, wow, this is so great, and no one knows who did this. They all talk about aliens building the pyramids of Giza. How many people do you think it took to build the pyramids of Giza? Herodotus, a Greek priest, and other Greek priests went to the area and they spoke to the native people. They told them it was around the area of 100,000 men that took 20 to 30 years to build it. And the pyramids of Giza is great. It's absolutely great. Why it's there, what it's for, is all in the book. Now, if we want to get back to the level of greatness and to build one thing that we can all say we're proud of, that will never be done, because we're all different. So
why should that be? Because build one. Africa's huge. How are we all going to come together and build one thing? Why don't we rather concentrate on building our economies and our countries?
But that will never happen unless you have that element of culture. People are not working together unless people think, look, I've been to Nigeria. My dad's from Nigeria and he goes there more than me. He says, look,
Muslim networking and Christians. They think you don't even believe in a God. Why am I working with you for?
So then why don't the countries rather work on sorting out their differences? And because if you're trying to say that the whole of Africa should come together, charity starts at home. Each country needs to sort out their own differences within their country. And another thing that I want to say is that the same thing that you're saying about us DNA linking us to Egypt, but that was so long ago. Why don't we be proud of where we are now? Another thing about us Africans we're good at is you even talk about it. The same thing that you're talking about someone else telling us to embrace Christ or whatever. It's kind of the same thing of telling me to embrace Egyptians or Egyptian culture or whatever, because I have no link there. I have no heritage. My great-grandfather... But listen to me. Okay. Even if I have a bit of DNA, that doesn't prove anything, because at the end of the day, we are all... everyone who is a human being comes from Africa. That's fact, right? Scientists proven that. So even a European can probably trace their DNA somewhere in Africa anyway. So, but why should that DNA tell me that I should go to Africa? It's like the same thing as a white person coming and saying that, putting on that Jesus is the savior. I would choose to believe that if I want to, which I do, but then that's neither here or there. The point is that it's almost the same kind of thing that, you should embrace Egypt. I've got no link to Egypt. I'm embracing my country first.
You say that, but when you read the book, you will find your link there. Now, when we're talking about your Christianity or Egypt saga and who's saying you should embrace this and that, yeah, what we need to realize is that we have a link genetically, and if one particular race decides to have another link to a particular religion that is not of and by them, they will not reach the same element. If a black person wants to eat certain foods don't agree with black people, certain medicines do not agree with black people, so why would they take it? Now, that's the element of it. Yes, for example, a European man can be a Hindu, but they will never reach the same spiritual element, spiritual fulfillment that a Hindu person will reach by being a Hindu.
But you don't know that because it's a spiritual thing, so it's between man and his God at the end of the day.
But when you look at the spirit is within though. The spirit is within.
So it's between man and his God. But another point that I want to make is that I'm still not convinced about, because to me it sounds like I'm just embracing someone else's concept. The link might be DNA or genetically, but at the end of the day it's not culture, it's not something I've been brought up with. I don't feel any connection like I would feel a connection to my land. So you're also kind of telling me that I should rip my roots away from Ghana and go embrace another person's land. I have no attachment to besides whatever DNA might be in me, but I've got DNA in other parts of Africa because my tribe, they moved around.
Okay, here's the deal. There's going to come a point in your life, Kai, and everyone else's life, when they look themselves in the mirror and they ask themselves, who am I and how did I get here? Okay? Now, I don't know the kind of person you are, or I do a little bit, but life is hard. If you want to get the real answers, you're going to have to do a lot of research. You're going to have to truly want to know. If you want to know, like the Bible says, knock and the answer shall be revealed to you. Knock and the door shall be opened. Okay? You keep on talking that you don't have a link. The whole point of the book is you have a link. You haven't read the book yet. Now hold up a minute. If you do really want to know the answers to who you are and how you got here, you are going to have to do a hell of a lot of research. Now, if you do that research, you cannot deny the Egyptian and Nubian heritage that we have. And the ultimate frontier, okay, let me put it this way. Just taking it away from Africa or Egypt for a minute, the ultimate frontier, okay, and you're going to laugh at me now, and I did this in my talks, is to go back to another planet. Point blank, plain and simple. The whole point of Nuapu is that Dr. York came to give us Nuapu to take us to another planet. He wanted to take us to a planet called Risk. So you're here talking about, African ancestry Egypt, when I'm trying to get back to the motherfucking planet Risk. You understand? I don't know shit about the planet Risk, apart from what Dr. York told me. But I'm trying to get back there. Why? I don't know. Maybe I'm from there. Maybe I'm a descendant of these people, of these beings called the Riskians. Okay? But there's different levels that you can take it. You can take it to Egypt if you want. That's cool. I'm trying to go beyond there. I'm trying to go to Atlantis. I'm trying to go to Lemuria. I'm trying to go to Risk. I'm trying to go to Orion. There's the whole different levels going on here.
Yeah, from what you're saying, I think that's like the plateau of it. That's definitely a different level. But tell me, like, when I go to Egypt, what can I expect? What should I look out for?
Okay. Definitely look at the pyramids. That's a must.
Yeah.
They said it's built by aliens. I'll leave it for you to decide. But it's 146 meters high. Each brick weighs 2.5 to 15 tons. It's aligned at all points, the cardinal points, north, east, south, west. Apparently you can't put a piece of paper between certain blocks. Why it was used, you'll find it in the book. And I want you to read the part, chapter 2 in the book about why the pyramids were built. And when you look at it, read it before you look at the pyramids, okay? You need to go to Aswan. Aswan is where the Nubians are. So what happened to in Egypt was, when there were several wars by the Hyksos and the Syrians, the black people not being allowed to practice their culture of Egypt anymore went into other areas. Some migrated down into the Sudan or Nubia. So Aswan is where there's supposed to be a lot of Nubians. There's 2 particular villages which I can give you. You might get a chance to look at. You know, the basic sites, the Valley of the Kings, Luxor, you know, the basics really.
That's where they are.
Yeah, I don't know how you put your itinerary, but apparently what people do is spend about 2 or 3 days in Cairo, and then they head out to the beach. Because apparently in Cairo it's really busy, it's a city, and you go to the museum, do all of those temporary sites, and then you have fun on the beach. Hurghada, Sharm el Sheikh. I'm talking about like I've been there.
That's where I'm landing in Sharm el Sheikh. So I need to decide if I'm going north or if I'm going to go south first. So yeah. We'll see.
Okay. But yeah, the Valley of the Kings is the must. Valley of the Kings.
Valley of the Kings, where's that?
I'm not sure geographically, but if you map it, people will tell you Luxor and Thebes. Definitely want to go Thebes. Thebes. Yeah. There's 3 main cultural, what they say, cultish sites in Egypt. Heliopolis. Heliopolis. Memphis. And Thebes.
These are what?
These are cult sites. Now they relate to 3 particular gods. Okay, Amun. Let me get which one right. You got Heliopolis, Memphis. I say Memphis would be. Memphis would be Ptah. Ptah. Amun would be Thebes. And I think Osiris would be Heliopolis. Don't quote me on that, but each of those pertain to a particular god. Another thing I really didn't mention as well. I did mention Osiris and it's probably been found, but there's 99 gods in Egypt, and these gods predate any kind of Christianity, right? So it's about that. That's another element of linking yourself. So I totally get where you're coming from, because I've had the same kind of questions from people, but I'm willing as a Nigerian to love Nigeria, but like I said, there's another element of wanting to go back to the purest root. So I do hope you go there, have a great time, discover some of your knowledge, hopefully see a link that you can trace yourself directly back to Egypt.
The thing is,
have a great time.
you saying that Nubians were there, I think this is interesting, because I won't doubt that Nubians were there, but the Nubians are in Ethiopia, they're in Sudan. Why do I have to say that I'm from there? Do you get what I'm saying? I can accept that as it is. I don't have to also be that or be there as well. I can respect it for what it is, that they were there. And it's true that, you know, since the Arabs came, you don't really see that, or they've been pushed aside, or, you know, it's not reflective in their culture. That's fair enough, but I don't have to feel that was my ancestry. Even if, listen, the guards traveled, they say we came from Israel, yeah, but I don't go to Israel saying that, you know, this is my promised land as well.
Even if you did go to Israel, as African, you didn't originate from there. There could have been there at a certain time, and there's black Israelites. Better Israel, Better Israel, right? The Lemba tribe, there's black Israelites, but they went there at a certain point in history. The Africans, which you want to identify yourself with, is in Africa. So Israel is just a small part of our history.
Before the, you know, the world, I'm sure the world was all one, and then there was a bigger, exactly. So then what about it before then? Could it have been part of Africa, and then there was a, you know, so there's so much.
I have a chapter, I have all the questions, right? Okay. There's a chapter called chapter 3. Okay, and it's a small chapter. It's called A Gap in Time. That looks at it looks at humans an early part of history. Because if I'm trying to trace the black people to Egypt, I've got to start from the beginning. I got to start from the beginning. That's what I'm looking at. I'm talking about Homo erectus. I'm talking about.
We're not there. I mean, but why is it necessary? You know, we're just trying to get on with our life. At the end of the day, we're not even in Africa. We're in Europe. We're in England. We're in London. How do we deal with the stuff that's happening to us here? And we're going to go back. When is it really relevant? We're trying to deal with, you know, daily life, dealing with racism in this country. So why don't we put our energy sometimes into dealing with what's going on around here? And yeah, it's good to know our ancestry, but then I know where I'm from Ghana, but then do I need to know where my, you know, this is thousands of years ago. Do I need to know which part of Egypt
This is self-realization. Like I said, you're going to look in your time one day in the mirror. Self-realization is about being who you are, being who you're meant to be, getting that spiritual state of perfection. That will not happen unless you know where you're from.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree with the words that you just said. But my thing is that for each person, it's going to be from a different point of our heritage. For some people, it's even just accepting that they are black. For some people, it's accepting that they are from Africa, especially a lot of the Caribbean people. Or for some people, it's just, you know, so it's going to be in different stages, of course. But maybe for some people, it is going way back. But I don't think it has to be going way back. But I think what you are doing is good to prove that, you know, Nubians were in Egypt. I think that's very important, especially now with, you know, a lot of the Arabs that have come in and you don't even see it reflected in society. So for that, I'm definitely pro what you're saying.
Okay, what you said, I totally agree with. We do need to establish some kind of cultural links here, because obviously we're here. But there's different elements to us. You know, people have two jobs, for example. You know, there's always going to be another element, and whether you choose to identify with it or not, it's entirely up to you. I just felt it was my job to put the book out there by studying it for so long and by showing people who and what they are. This interview is unfortunately going to have to come to a close now. This is Segun Magbe-Ballard, author of Black Egyptians, and
Kai Literate.
Okay, so yeah, buy my book, help support, find out who you are. Black Egyptians, the African Origins of Ancient Egypt. You can get it from Amazon. Visit my website, blackegyptians.co.uk. My other publishing website, Akasha, aka publishing.co.uk. And add me on Twitter, Akashic84, Facebook, all of that. Hope you enjoyed listening. Thank you, Kai.
Thank you very much. Okay, it's a wrap.